Hello.
Hey everyone.
Hey everyone, I'm back here with another video today and a little bit of a different format this time. I have actually my brother joining us on feed today. We're not in the same place, so we're doing a bit of a podcast style chat back and forth around some topics on the channel that you've seen recently. Definitely go check out his channel below. His channel is called Carstati. Is that right?
Yep.
Awesome. Yep. You heard it from him. All right. Yep. It's called Carstati. Go check him out. Go give him a sub. He does all kinds of gaming type videos and things of that content. So, and if you're a new user joining here, welcome. If you're a new viewer, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe to this video down below. If you're into tech, computers, laptops, phones, all those types of things, this is just a space where we like to have conversation around it, help you out, maybe save some money if you're looking to buy some new tech, and that's what we talk about here on the channel. So welcome to Carstati. Do you mind if I call you Carstati or use your real name? Do you have like some kind of a security preference on the internet?
No, I don't really care. I'm pretty sure everybody knows my full name on the internet. So
Anyway, now that I've introduced you, do you have anything to add to that? Anything to correct me on?
no.
Anything you want to say to the one person probably watching this?
Hi. Hello, Jim Bob, or whatever your name is. Yeah.
Hello, Jim Bob. Yep.
No, you got everything accurate. So good job.
Perfect. Yeah, well, I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, not the elephant in the room, in the tech space, this
Yeah.
ongoing battle, this ongoing debate between Android and iOS. I
Yeah.
recently did a video, I guess it wasn't recently, but I did a video reviewing the Galaxy S21 Ultra, and that was a sweet phone, but I got a lot of hate from it, and I got a lot of love from it, and I totally get it. So I'm somebody that I started off using an Android. I was an Android fanboy. I hated iPhone users
I remember
because
that.
how could you not want to use an Android? It's so much better. Like, how can you just use iMessage? It's so much better, right? That's the argument. It's so much better. Freedom. You hate freedom if you don't use Android. I've since hopped the fence to iPhone, and I've been back and forth on it a few times. So I totally understand the stigma and the thoughts around both sides. But specifically, it always just comes back down to this iMessage question, this iMessage debate. Like, people are stuck on it, and I don't agree with it. I don't agree with why people are stuck on it, but I understand why to a degree. Um, it seems that it's more of it's a cultural thing, right? Like, have you noticed that where
I would say so. I don't really interact with many people outside of the US, let alone at all.
right,
But
right,
yeah, so you probably have a point there. I think in America we're so
right. So
pre-programmed for like Apple is goated, but is it really,
mhm.
or is it just overpriced?
Yeah, I think it goes back to really back in the day. It was like phone numbers. You had a phone number and you would call somebody, and then it became an SMS message, right? And like
Mm-hmm.
you were SMS texting back and forth. And then the advent of these smartphones and instant messaging IMs came about, where it was like now you could use an internet protocol to message back and forth.
Yeah,
And that was the biggie with iMessage back in the day, was when you paid per text message, you use iMessage, and when it's a blue bubble, you're not paying. That's a free message.
right.
The green bubbles you have to pay for. And so it was this stigma of like, you're costing me money to text you. You should just get a blue bubble and then I don't have to text you. And that's kind of what it became. And then, company, like, obviously times have changed and you don't really pay for SMS anymore. But in other parts of the world, they would use like WhatsApp and Telegram now, and even Signal's a big one,
That's
Facebook
true.
Messenger.
Yeah,
The rest of the world's moved on, where the majority of the market, the majority of the people don't even use an iPhone in the first place. So they're just like, they've always just not used iMessage and it's been fine. And we're kind of stuck in this, like, this Apple was like kind of like the first to do that and revolutionize that, but it hasn't changed. And so now iMessage is still this all-in-one IM SMS platform, and it's like it's a sticking point for a lot of people.
interesting.
Yeah, at least that's kind of what I've like noticed and observed and been able to kind of distill into my own understanding, is that's probably why people are so stuck on it, and that people just don't like change, right? Like, it works, it's simple. It does everything people want it to do. And then in one app, you can get your green bubbles and your blue bubbles. Nobody wants to get a green bubble, let's face it.
Right.
But when you do, it's at least all on the same app. And I don't mean that in a sense of like, I don't want to talk to an Android user. I mean that in a sense of like, when I get a two-factor authentication message, I want to see that in my messages app, not something completely different.
Yeah. I agree with
At
that.
least that's kind of what I've observed. I don't know if you have a different perspective, because you've been an Android user yourself, right?
Yeah.
Did you run into all that when you were using
I was
Android?
just counting it the other day. I think I've had 4 iPhones and like 5 or 6 Androids. I liked Android just because it's a lot cheaper than an iPhone, so it's easier on the wallet, and I mostly just liked it for like the customization of whatever the wallpapers and whatnot, and you can change like launchers. I was a big launcher guy, and so I liked the super techie or whatever. Nova launcher, stuff
Nova
like
launcher,
that, and you can't get that with an iPhone. I think I've grown out of that in recent years, or not recent years. I don't know. I haven't thought about it that late. Like, I haven't really thought about it lately because it's become a bit redundant, like technology in general has. So I just haven't seen much new stuff, and I think I've just become more focused on like my job and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's a point I want to hit on. But before I do, I got to show you this. I'm gonna hold it up to the camera. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. I might just overlay it on the video.
Okay.
But it's basically all the phones I've ever owned up to 2019.
Jeez. Oh, iPhone 5S.
I'll just put it.
I didn't know you had a 5C.
Yeah, I did. That I'll put it over the video so people can see. But it literally only goes up to 2019. So I started with a Samsung SGH T401G. That was the Stratosphere.
Oh, with the QWERTY.
No, that wasn't the Stratosphere.
That was the QWERTY.
That was a QWERTY keyboard.
Yeah, I used to want a QWERTY phone so bad.
It was the old candy bar phone with no touch screen, and it just had the sliding QWERTY keyboard. Went from that to a Samsung Stratosphere 2. That was an actual smartphone based off of like the S3, and it also had the sliding QWERTY keyboard, so it was kind of a hybrid. Yeah. It was dumb.
I liked it.
I never used it.
I thought it was cool.
It was cool in concept, dumb in practice.
Right, because you have like your on-screen keyboard, and then also, but it's cool.
It made the phone. It made the phone thicker than it needed to be.
Turns the phone into a transformer. It's awesome.
Yeah. Like, viewers, let me know if you would love to see like a review on one of those. I'm sure I could get my hands on one and just talk about it from like today's perspective. Oh, it'd be great. And I went to the LG Ultimate 2. That was just a Walmart track phone for like $40-$60. That thing was probably my favorite phone up until that point. I just remember being like, man, this thing is so thin. It is like fast, and the screen was awful, but it was sweet. Like, it was just cool.
Life's good.
Yeah, it really kind of got me into like what could a phone be as far as like how thin, and it was like larger, and it was like my first step into like the next generation of a smartphone. It was like, whoa, this is cool. And then I went to the Galaxy Note 4. Then I went to the Nokia Lumia 640, a Windows phone.
Oh, I had one of those.
And then it wasn't until after that I got my first iPhone, the iPhone 5C. I actually bought it off eBay, received it, and this is when I didn't understand how networks worked. I bought it, but it was like locked to AT&T, or it was locked to Verizon.
Oh.
It was like I couldn't activate it. So I had to, like, I got it and set it all up, and I just couldn't activate it. And I was like, man, I really want to try this.
Is that still a thing?
So I returned it.
Like locked phones? Oh, sorry. I've been out of the loop for a while.
Carrier locks. It's still as much of a thing as ever. You kind of get
my phone's locked.
You can get a discount if you buy locked through your carrier, and then they can unlock you if you pay off the phone. I just always buy unlocked because, why would I be locked to a carrier?
Sure.
But I went from that to an iPhone 5S, which was really my first iPhone that I had ever bought, and I didn't like it. Well, now I love it. But I effectively went from like a Galaxy Note 4 to a 5S. And that difference was just like too much for me at the time. Right. And it was the software difference and the size difference. And I was just kind of like, I honestly got really bored of it. I was like, it just works, but what's the fun in that? Like, I want to be able to.
It's a little phone too, right? Going from a. Yeah. How big was the Galaxy?
Mm-hmm.
The
Note was
huge.
it was a Note.
Yeah, the Note was
pretty big. I don't know off the top of my head, but it was a Note.
Is the 5S smaller than the 13 mini? Because the 13 mini is the same size as the
Yes.
7 was, right? If I recall correctly. Roughly.
Yeah, the minis are kind of closer to like the regular body size of like the 7 and the 8 and
Okay.
6. The screen is much larger, but yeah, the 5S was
Right.
much
And I
smaller.
remember when the 7 came out, like this felt super big compared to the
Yeah.
5S, or
Yeah,
especially the
right.
4. I loved the 4s or the 4Ss. That was like my dream
Yeah,
phone.
those are cool.
And I think that's why I like this body style so much, because they took like the 5S and just made it newer.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
I know.
great.
When I got my 12 mini, it was like, I mean, if anybody's seen that video on the channel, they know. It was like I was all over that phone.
Yeah.
It was sweet. But yeah, then I ended up going back to a Galaxy S7 and then hopped back to an iPhone for a while. And then I switched to a Pixel 2 for a while and hopped back to an iPhone. So I've always had this back and forth. So people are always commenting, oh, he just doesn't get it. You know, I get it. I've used more Android phones than I have iPhones. And I get that software has been updated and things are consistently getting better and more reliable on Android as far as like app crashing and battery life and whatnot. But the concept is still the same. The concept has always been, if you're on an Android phone trying to communicate with an iPhone user, you're a green bubble
Right.
in their book. And that's a stigma. And that has nothing to do, like as an Android user, like I hated that because Sarah, my wife at the time we were dating, it was like I was a green bubble and her and I would just communicate over Facebook Messenger. And that's how we texted. And that was like normal and fine. But, you know, we would never text. And that's just the way it
It's
was.
such a slap in the face to Android users. You're nothing to me but a green bubble.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's a stigma that's flipped because in the iPhone world, in the United States where we live, most people use iPhone. Like, honestly, I was looking through my contacts kind of in preparation for this video, looking through my messages and looking through my contacts in iMessage. I'm like, I maybe have like 1 or 2 people that I text in a year that are like a green bubble.
Right.
Like that's how saturated it is with iPhones, and people just use the app that comes on the device, the default messaging app, because that's what's easy. You know, and I'm trying to get people to like switch over. Or I talked to Sarah like, hey, you know, try out Signal. Like, let's try out one of these different apps, or you know, let's use Telegram for like our study groups that we do. And it like people look at you like, why?
Right.
You know, if you're coming from a culture that's used to Android and all these messaging apps, people get it. They understand.
Yeah.
But at least here in the US, they're just like, why? Like, why would I not use iMessage? It works. And I like it. It's
I
fine.
didn't realize that was an
And it's like-
American thing. Because I thought, like, you look at the UK and
Yeah.
they're pretty iPhone, whatever you want to call it. They like their iPhones, I think, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I just don't pay attention to that as much. But it just comes back to that philosophy of, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So they could have the same
Yeah.
argument on the other side of the world, for example, and be like, oh, we should start using iMessage. And then they'd be like, why would you want to do that? The same way you're getting these reactions of like, oh, we should start using other messaging platforms, and people are like, why would you want to do that?
Yep, exactly. And it's like people are just sold that, and that's what they use. They don't think twice about it. And so getting people to like change that is difficult. Even Canada. So like Sarah has relatives just up in Canada, like a few hours north, and they all use WhatsApp.
So weird.
Like they don't iMessage. They don't use WhatsApp, and we're weird to the rest of the
Sure.
world. It's literally like the metric versus imperial system.
Yeah.
We measure everything in feet and inches.
Like, whose
That's
foot
normal
is
to us,
12
and the rest of
inches?
the world's like, what are you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
insane.
So like that's really what it comes down to. And I'm not saying I agree with it at all. Like I honestly think it's a monopolization on Apple's part, and it's pretty crummy. Like they're making money off of it and they're keeping customers, but it is like super like shady. I wouldn't be surprised if someday, just like what the EU is doing with the USB-C on the iPhone, like forcing them to put USB-C in the iPhone instead of using the proprietary Lightning. Because again, if they have their own connector, then they're the only ones that can sell it. They're the ones that make all the money on it. They can't just, nobody else can just go buy a cable from some other company. It's the same thing with iMessage. It's locked into this ecosystem. And so it's like, by you using their product, they're not necessarily making money off of your product, but they're keeping you as a customer because it's harder for you to want to leave to a different product. And then if you know somebody that's in the market for a product, you're going to encourage them, hey, get an iPhone, because if you don't, it's going to ruin my experience.
It's a
You know what I
pretty
mean?
smart marketing scheme. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty genius actually.
It's thinking different.
Yeah, exactly.
Pun intended. That's for sure. No,
Yeah,
I agree. It's smart, but it's pretty also crummy at the same time.
sure.
Like from an iPhone user perspective, it makes everybody else seem like they're the bad guys, you know?
Yeah,
Like, why would you have a green bubble? You show up as a green bubble on my device. Like, how dare you? Don't talk to me. Like, that's not cool. And then to the rest of the world, where everybody's like, everybody else is chatting just fine across all these other apps. Like,
mhm.
why are you the one that's honestly still stuck on SMS? Because iMessage is at its heart an SMS app.
I could see
Like,
that.
that's an old standard that was brought into the IM space where the rest of the world's moved on to IM, and iMessage is still stuck on this SMS. So,
I think I speak for a very small demographic, which would include myself as of late. I've become more of a purist, so I deleted like Snapchat and social medias and stuff.
mhm.
And I just like using, I like the idea of just having a phone number and using SMS because I'm not on my phone as much that way. And so I've mainly just been using iMessage. And it's pretty nice. I like it. I don't have to use other apps. Um, I forgot my train of thought where I was going with that. But yeah, I just think there's a small demographic in there that um, really likes that actually. So it may not just be
Yeah.
what everybody's used to, but it could come down to personal preference.
Well, that's just it. So much of this is personal preference. You can
Yeah.
get caught up in all of the, well, this is better and this has more features and this and that or whatever. It's like,
Hmm.
it number one comes down to personal preference, but then number two, like it should also be related to um, security and privacy.
Yeah.
Like SMS is just not secure anymore. Like it can be intercepted, it can be read as plain text. Your carrier can read it.
Hmm.
Like anybody with a computer and a little bit of time who has an intention of being malicious, they can hack you that way. You know,
Right.
even two-factor authentication, like through uh, Facebook or any of these apps that you would log into, where it texts you a code that can be intercepted and that can be hacked so easily. And it's like, on the one hand, you're like, yeah, you know, who's got any information that, like, I'm not texting about anything important, like,
Hmm.
hack me, read my messages. I get that, but also, like, should be a little bit concerned and considerate about, like, what are the potential downfalls of using something like that. So, you
Right.
know, while I'm not crazy about, like, we need to make sure our conversation about what's for dinner tonight is like secure that not even the government can read it, because privacy is a basic right. Like
Yeah.
also you give up some privacy in the name of like some features and stuff like that, as opposed to, you know, something that's completely private. So all that to say, like I don't think SMS is, you know, awesome anymore. It used to be,
Sure.
but like there's way better alternatives, and I think that's just where iMessage has gotten stuck. Is it was the standard, and it just still is for all these people that just don't like to change. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I've always thought it was the standard, but like I said, I don't think into this sort of thing too much.
Yeah,
Um, but you always see like these new updates, and because I'm already in that Apple ecosystem, it just feels like this is what everybody's on right now. And so why would I leave? You know?
I know.
I w-
I get it. It's one of those, if it ain't broke, don't
yeah,
fix it, and that's just the way it is. You know, and when you have an iPhone, like it's just that's the ecosystem and that's the marketing that's built into it, as opposed to if we were in a country or a place that was predominantly Android, that didn't have um you know iMessage available,
hmm,
then we would be all jumping to like, all right, let's just use WhatsApp or Telegram or
yeah,
Signal. Let's use whatever is available. It's like that's just the norm. And so then when
hmm.
there's conflict there between the two, it's like, why wouldn't you use this? Why would you? Yeah, it it just comes down to whatever works.
I was gonna ask, do you think the security issues translate over to iMessage because that's become kind of like Apple's instant messaging between their ecosystem? I just So for me, when I switched from Android back to Apple, the main reason was actually for that security, because I
Mhm.
felt I had a less secure platform on Android than you get on Apple in terms of privacy, because there was all like
Yep.
the advertising stuff coming out, where
Yep.
like Google's been, and Google and Android are obviously in cahoots. And so there was some shady stuff going on there, but Apple was kind of against that, and they were really standing firm in the privacy thing. So that's why I switched to Apple. So that would make me
Yeah.
think that in terms of security, you'd obviously SMS is different from iMessage, but you'd almost be better off in the Apple ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's tough because it comes down to preference. I'm all about
Right.
like tweak your phone, customize it, make it fun and make it different than everybody else. But at the end of the day, it's like, why? Like, are you that bored where you need to spend all day on your phone customizing it so it's different than everybody else? So you can say my phone is
Right.
different, even though nobody ever sees your phone. Like, I used to think that way when I had nothing better to do with my time, honestly. But now I'm like,
Hmm.
like when you're married and you have kids and you have a job and you have life, it's like I just need a phone that I know is going to last me all day. It's going to work when I need it to work, and I know that like I can get a hold of somebody when I need to. And
Yeah.
everybody with an Android said, "Yeah, but Android can do that too." I get it, but on like for the one time that it doesn't, like again, I reviewed the Galaxy S21 Ultra. And I had a Pixel, and I've used many Android phones. It's like when you're using the camera, it'll miss shots occasionally. That's a
And it's
Samsung
so
thing. Like
slow. The camera's so
the
laggy.
camera's a little laggy. So all of those
Yeah.
little things add up. Or the one time that like I need to text somebody. And like where we lived out in the country in Colorado, we had no cell signal. I had
Mm.
LTE, but I had no cell signal. So it was like if I'm on Android, I can use like an instant messaging app like Telegram or Signal if the person I'm trying to get a hold of is already part of that app, or I already have their phone number and I can just give them a call or text them. But oh, I don't have signal where I'm at. Literally, like no cell signal. It would take me
Hmm.
like an hour to send a message to try to get signal. So like that's the
Weird.
reality of like when you have those differences, those frustrating things just add up. And if you're on an iPhone, like any amount of LTE is like it sends the message. So
Right.
that's where there's a seamless connectivity. But like you're saying with the security thing, I get that because that's what really brought me back to iOS and has kept me here for so long was number one, the Apple Watch, which I have right here.
Yeah.
I had to go without my Apple Watch when I was using the Pixel, and that was kind of tough because it is a
Hmm.
good watch. Um,
And you have
yeah,
nothing to cover up the tan line. So there's that too.
right. I mean, I could wear another watch, but it's actually been decent. I've been indoors for months now, so it's all good.
I got such a bad tan line 2 summers ago because I get dark in the summer, and it was like just white and then dark because I
Yeah,
never took off my Apple Watch and I worked outside. And then I lost it, so I had just a really bad exposed tan line.
yeah,
I probably could have just wore another watch now that I
yeah.
think about it. But
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I don't wear it as much lately. Obviously, I'm not wearing it right now, but that's a whole nother topic for another video coming soon.
watches.
That's actually gotten me to
Better
consider
watch
going
out for
back.
that video.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
actually been considering going. Yeah, watch for that video. Yeah, pun intended.
Yeah.
I've been really considering going back to Android, but like you're saying with the privacy thing, that's kind of concerning. It's like why? Why would I go back to Android? I can still communicate with the people I need to and talk with them. For me, it's about the
Yeah.
form factor. I think those Galaxy Folds and Flips are pretty cool, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty fond of the Pixel cameras and all that. Like, it's good stuff. Like, I know where the grass is greener, and I also know where it's not.
Yeah.
But like the privacy thing is huge, and so yeah, like I would rather not rely on Google services if I don't have to. I would rather not, because they just don't need any more of my data if I can help it. And not that I have anything interesting going on in my life or anything to share, but it's just like it's the principle of the matter where
Right.
I'm like, if I can choose, you know, communicate like let's say Google Maps and Apple Maps, for example, like I can navigate to this store and have the company not track me, or I can navigate to the store and have the company track me. It's like it does the same thing.
Right.
So that's where I'm like, yeah, it does the same thing. And I honestly think like the best, if you want probably the best, most secure experience there is, like get an iPhone and use Signal Messenger. Like,
Or just get a flip phone and call people. I would love
but
to
not
do
even
that.
that, because your
Oh,
SMS, like if you SMS text, that's super not secure, and even a phone call
true.
routed through your
That's a
mobile
good point.
network is not encrypted.
Yeah.
And so like that's probably one of the least secure ways. Like it would be better to use an app like Service, or Telegram
Mm.
is now getting better about providing encrypted end-to-end calls where,
Or
or like a FaceTime call where like people can't listen in.
do you know anything about VPNs?
Hmm.
I've been
Yeah.
thinking about getting one of those, but I don't know if it's worth it or not. So you can get it on your phone, I think.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that would kind of solve. It probably wouldn't solve the SMS dilemma because you'd have to,
No.
for example, if you put yourself in Japan, you'd have to get like international service, and it would still be your phone number, but it might solve some of those issues.
Well, a VPN doesn't touch your phone number. It's all about your data and your internet.
Oh,
It
okay.
basically spoofs your IP location. So a company that
Oh,
would track your IP. So like us on the computer right now, we're talking on Discord. Discord's able to look in the back end and log both of our IP addresses, which is tagged to our physical location. And they know
mm,
exactly where you're at and where I'm at in the world, and they can log that, and they have that. You know,
do they?
they do. Every company does. That's their bread and butter,
Yeah.
because then they can sell that information to advertisers, which is the realm that I work in. We can
Mm.
buy these lists from these companies to say like, oh, hey, Carstati just visited Minneapolis, and we know that he was in Minneapolis because we followed him on his phone, and because he agreed to our terms of service by
That's
having
so
our app.
creepy.
And so now we can
Yeah.
sell him and recommend products to him based on where exactly he was at. And that's the market, that's the industry. What a VPN does is it spoofs your location so that even though you're right here, it's actually telling the trackers, no, you're actually over here. Like it
Mm.
scrambles the signal. It keeps the information out of their hands, basically. It's a virtual private network. You're joining a separate you're basically you're spoofing your location, basically is how it works. And I'm sure
Oh,
there's
okay.
more things in there that like I don't even know about, but that's the basic premise of it. But
That
yeah,
would be
it's
cool.
that's
Yeah,
exactly what they're doing, is they're pulling your IP location
that
and
makes
everything
me want
else
to
too.
get a VPN now. Because I was just looking at pet insurance because Bryn and I are looking at getting a dog. And so I got a quote and everything. No, I wasn't even. Yeah, I was looking at it on my work computer in the office. And then I got ads for it on my personal Facebook. And I don't know how that happened because I'm not logged into Facebook on my work computer, but somehow that translated. And I wasn't even talking about it. I was just like, my phone was next to the computer when I did that. And it's
Yeah.
somehow I was like, what
So
is going on? It makes me want to delete Facebook.
yeah, no, you're ready. You know why that happens. The scary thing is that even though these companies have these data policies built in, like Facebook and Discord, like what we're talking about, every company has a data policy where they basically have to disclose these are all the things that we track like around you. They don't tell you what you do with it. They sell it to advertisers. These are all the things we do with it. They can change that at any time they want, and you don't, and it'll just pop up as like, we have new terms of service, accept here, and you're accepting the new terms. That's that's scary. But what's even scarier is those companies are liable to be hacked, just like anybody. And
Right.
foreign nations, like there's things that are like data breaches. It happens all the time, and all of a sudden, oh, you know, Discord has our credit card information. There's no reason why Discord should have that, but they've been able to
Hmm.
cross link that, like what you were saying. And so, like, they can get a hold of these things, and now X, Y, and Z organization affiliation has my info. And so that's what's scary. And it's
Mm.
kind of, it kind of gets unavoidable in this world. And
Yeah.
so, what you were saying about like you're searching on Facebook on your work computer, and then you see it on your personal, it cross references. So it knows like there's so much data being passed. Like if you get onto your work computer and you're signed in to like you said you were browsing on Google.
Yeah, but it's my work account. And I was
Yeah.
in an incognito browser
Do
looking
you
at pet
have
insurance quotes.
Do you have your work email on your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you go. Even though incognito doesn't
Oh.
track so incognito doesn't log cookies and cache and information to your local device, but the information that
Mm-hmm.
you're searching is still passed to your local ISP, your internet service provider.
Mm.
So that like there's still a data trail. There's a breadcrumb. There's a cookie trail crumb, literally. Like it knows the IP address on this computer. Like you're always logged in on this computer. You're always in this location, and then this computer travels to this location, and that's always with this device. They're always logged out at the same time, so it can pass that information and cross-reference. And there's literally a profile built out on you to say you, as a person, are always logged in on this computer to these accounts. These are the things you searched. These are the things that were passed from this computer to this account. It wasn't logged on the computer, but the internet service provider can see that, and then it can cross-link to like your phone, and then that information it gets bought and eaten up by Facebook. Like literally, just by Facebook being on your phone, they can like see your call logs, your texts. They can read everything just by having the app on your phone. So we just finished the podcast, but I wanted to come back because we were talking more about this, and I wanted to show you a real example of something that you can check for yourself. So this is on the App Store. This is literally just the Gmail app, and my point in saying that Google Apps just track everything. I'm gonna try to get this to focus here. Just the Gmail app on my phone, and if you scroll down, Apple recently added this data linked to you section. And you can see this on every app on the App Store. If you tap into it, it tells you everything about what they're collecting. But what's kind of alarming is based on the app, like the amount of data they collect. So this is just Gmail, just so I can open my email, because let's face it, it's way better than the stock iOS mail app. Gmail can see my purchases, wherever those are made online. They can see my contact info, my user content, so they can actually see my photos on my phone. Here, and there's even a breakdown. So on the user content, photos and videos on my phone, audio data, customer content, other user content, all of those things. They can see user ID, my device ID. They can see the serial number of my phone. They can see diagnostics on my phone. They know generally how often do I pick up my phone throughout the day. They know generally what time do I plug my phone in at night. They can see my location. They can see my contacts, my internet search history, my usage data. How many phone calls do I make? What kinds of mobile data searches do I make? And other data, which is extremely obscure. But that's just one app. And there's a perfect example of privacy breaches. And like, why do you need to know all that? If you're a true email app that just is serving me my email, but they're collecting and harvesting this data. So that's where privacy becomes an issue. And it's one of those things like just because you can't see it or because you don't know what's happening doesn't mean it's not an issue. Like
It's
you
so
installing it
creepy.
is agreeing to their terms. And so that's where things can get
Right.
nutty in a hurry. And it's where like all these companies are coming out about like data privacy and security is important. But what does that actually mean? Like it's important to see what data they're actually collecting and then see
Yeah.
like how does that actually affect me as a person, as a consumer. And that was part of my issue with using Android. Now true, I don't have anything particularly interesting that the world would want to know, but it's the principle of the matter, and it's like it's a security matter too, because I have
Mm.
card information saved on my iPhone, which is encrypted into my wallet, and like I trust that as much as I would trust a digital version of banking information. Like nothing is
Mm.
secure, but it can get as secure as it can. So um,
Hmm.
yeah, all that to say, it it's kind of a turkey shoot, when it
It's
comes
kind of
to data
triggering.
security and privacy. A
Yeah.
little bit, and that's the premise. Like that's literally how Google makes its money and operates. It's one of the biggest companies in the world because it collects data and sells it to advertisers, and then the advertisers buy up space on their platforms that they've built, and then they make money off of that.
Well,
Like
yeah,
that's how they make money.
I watched a
Nothing's ever free,
documentary.
by the way. Nothing's ever free.
Exactly, yeah. Taxes and stuff. I watched a documentary about like big tech companies and the way they engineer social medias and things like that. And they're always like looking for your daily habits and patterns through these algorithms. And it's like it's easy to think, oh, that's just super out there and conspiracy theory. But like, no, this is legitimate because these are people who worked for these companies and they were behind these algorithms and they quit because of moral objections.
Yep.
And so after watching that, I'm like convinced that my phone will send me BS notifications just to get me to like pick up my phone.
Yep.
Because, for example, I've been sitting here the whole time. I'm not doing anything. But if I could just like tap my phone at any time, I don't get any notifications. But if I like go in the car or something, it'll start blowing up. Or if I start doing something other than being on my phone, it'll just start blowing up for no reason or any reason at all. So that gets me thinking, like, what if it sends signals to other people's phones, like prompting them to text you? And then it's like this weird spider web conspiracy theory that I developed in my head.
No, yeah, it definitely does that. And Facebook is a big culprit of that. All the social apps are because they make their money. The more time you spend on their app scrolling, the more money they make. And because, again, it's all advertisement driven. You scroll past this ad, it counts as an impression. If you watch an ad, it counts as a video view or an engagement. They get paid by the advertising companies because you saw it. So Facebook gets paid. So yes, they will literally, and that's proven. They talked about that. They talked about when Facebook first came out, they're like, which color notification dot is going to get people to open the app more? Because it was originally blue. Like the little badge on the icon was originally blue to match the Facebook colors. But then they're like, no, if we change it to red, it'll get people to open it better.
Right.
So that's literally, it's engineered to get you to open it. And I get so frustrated with that because if you go to Facebook and start like dismiss this notification or don't show me notifications like this, it'll come up with new ways to notify you. You start getting notified about friends' posts that you didn't even know you were friends with because it has to give you something to open the app. And it's incredibly frustrating.
It is super triggering. I was going to say a thought. Oh, yeah, TikTok. I got rid of TikTok because it's that same concept, but you just imagine you're giving all your stuff to China and you're okay with it. It's because like I made a new account for TikTok for, I think it was my music stuff because I was using it to promote things. And so you scroll through and it measures like down to the millisecond, I'm convinced how long you watch certain categories of videos because if you watch this category for half a second longer than this video it shows you, you're going to start seeing more of that stuff. And it's freaky because the more you scroll, you'll see similar things. And I'm like, I don't really like that. So then I deleted it promptly after. But
No, so so anybody, if you're watching this, if you don't know me personally, I do work in the advertising and marketing space. And I'm involved in a lot of that because that's my job is while I don't sell ads, I buy them specifically on social networks. So to understand how this works is part of my job. And I went to a conference a few months ago where they had a representative there from TikTok talking exactly about that. Like they track and they measure exactly how long you're on a specific ad or a TikTok or a web page. And because the app is embedded on your phone, it's installed, it's not embedded. It can see like your web browsing history and who you text and read your messages and kind of get context from around the rest of your phone to say like what kind of ads would we be able to serve you, what kind of content would we be able to serve you. There's even speculation that they can tap into your phone camera. So when you're scrolling, the rear facing camera, they can turn it on and they can triangulate based on where your eyes are at. Like they can see what part of the screen that you're looking at based on when you're scrolling to give you better context and serve you ads better. Yeah, it is creepy.
Brent, I hope you're watching this. I keep telling you, it's exactly what I've been saying, but you don't believe me.
No, it's real. I think it's true from the mouths of TikTok directly. Like, it's true. And it's so that's creepy. Where I'm like, I hate social. I don't really have it on my phone unless I have to. I'll delete it. I'll install it if I need to. But I'm like, as somebody that works on the back end of this and kind of understands how it works, like it's not good. And if you're somebody that's like, I don't care, I get enjoyment out of it, whatever, it's like, fine, you do you. You're like, you're not in any, your life isn't gonna change one way or another with or without it. It's just the principle of the matter where like you don't have my permission to watch me that closely.
Yeah, it's kind of a violation of rights. Actually, it's definitely a violation of rights. I feel like the more you're aware of this sort of stuff, or the more you work in this, the more paranoid you get about it. Because I was watching, Anthony Padilla from Smosh, or he
I don't know
co-founded.
what any of those words
Yeah,
mean.
that's old YouTube. He's a dude that does YouTube stuff. Kind of a different side of YouTube than where you're involved, but he does like more journalism style videos now, where he'll just sit and have conversations with people from different people groups and walks of life. So like different political or religious beliefs,
Yeah.
or just cool scenarios. So he talked to like former CIA agents, and this one dude, they're all talking about that, but this one dude was like, because he asked them, is the webcam thing legitimate? Like, can the CIA spy on you through your webcam? And he's like, they don't, but they absolutely could if they wanted to. And so he has like his little webcam cover up thing, and he's like living in a bunker pretty much, where he never gives his address to anybody, and like nobody can ever find where he's gonna live, just because he's so aware of that stuff. And I'm like, that's kind of goals. I wish I could do that, but I'm probably too far gone at this point, because I've had TikTok.
Yeah, no, so there's a lot around that. If you actually look, there was a photo that leaked. No, it wasn't leaked. It was published in a journal of Mark Zuckerberg at his desk working on something, and he has tape over his webcam and tape over his microphone on his computer. And I think they asked him about that, and he was kind of like, yeah, like if there's a chance that they can watch me, then I don't want to be seen or whatever.
He
It's like,
knows.
he knows.
Yeah,
he knows.
he invented that.
Like, take a cue from them, like it's
Right.
totally, like it's a fact.
Yeah,
It's totally a fact. And yeah, I mean, it's evident. Like, you just see how these high level people and people at these companies respond to a lot of things. Like Steve Jobs never let his kids have an iPhone or an iPad. It's like these people, they don't let their kids have this technology until they're much older. Like social networks, they will absolutely not let their kids on it because of what they know, how it's engineered. And it's a money-making scheme at the end of the day, but it's damaging to the psyche. It's damaging to just people. And so that's what
evil.
I like to see. Like you mentioned, like people leaving companies. The kind of getting back to what we were talking about earlier, this Android versus iOS and which messaging apps to use.
That's where it started.
Signal. The reason I love Signal so much lately is it's a nonprofit. It's not a for-profit like Telegram, like WhatsApp, which is owned by Facebook, iMessage, which is owned by Apple. These are all for-profit companies. Their main goal is to make money and make as much money as we possibly can and keep as many customers as we possibly can. Signal is a nonprofit. Their goal isn't to make money. They operate based on donations. They're different in the eyes of the tax world because they're a nonprofit organization where their mission is data privacy and data security. Exactly like we're talking about. Like people deserve to be able to communicate without anybody watching and interfering. So that's how they function. And it was started by a guy that left WhatsApp because he was working on it, and he like obviously it's an important technology to be able to communicate, but he was basically like, this ain't right, the way we're tracking people and basically just stealing from them to sell to make money. So he left and started up this nonprofit called Signal, and it's been awesome. Like Elon recommends it. I mean, I don't think he's
he's not much better, but
well, I was gonna say I don't think he's the best person in the world to look up to, but he's got a lot of smarts in a lot of areas around that. So
yeah, that's cool.
And I'll bet you, if you were to like get onto Mark Zuckerberg's phone, Tim Cook's phone, all these high level people, the president, all these people that are in this and they know this, I'll bet they don't use WhatsApp. I'll bet they use the most secure encrypted things out there.
Yeah, because I saw a news piece where like, so TikTok's not banned in the US, but if you work in the White House or in the government, you're not allowed to have TikTok at all, because it's just giving your information to China, and which is smart not to do that, because like you wouldn't want the president of China, is it a president over there? I don't know. You wouldn't want him to have Biden's phone and see like who he's texting. I'm sure he doesn't text, because that's a whole other conversation, but yeah,
no, it's a fact that It's linked to the CCP, the China Communist Party, and this is kind of getting into politics. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's just another reason why I got rid of my TikTok. Number one, I was on it for a while, and I gave the algorithm time. For everybody that's gonna hate on me and say you just didn't give it time, I had it for months and months, and I was on it every day, and I was like, this is just like so dumb. Like I've done it for hours, you know, and at the time you're like, oh, that's dumb. Let's see if there's a better one. Oh, that's dumb. Let's see if there's a better one. Like it added no value to my life.
It's like walking
eventually
into
I'm just
a wall
like, you know,
repeatedly.
yeah, I'm like, you know, I'm just gonna like this is so stupid. I'm gonna get rid of it. And I haven't missed it one bit. I'll do Instagram Reels, admittedly, but again, with the whole data collection privacy thing, I'm just like, why? Like this is so stupid. I'd rather just get on YouTube and watch shorts or videos and actually learn something. And before you go off on a tangent and be like, oh, YouTube, Google, one is the worst. Like they're collecting your data and selling it. It's like, it's true. It's a social network of sorts, but also I'm okay with some of that because I get so much value out of YouTube. Like honestly, just doing this, making videos, I get paid ad revenue because that's partially what makes our world go around. So like there is
one of us.
Right. I mean, there's good things in the economy, the state of the media economy, but like I'm okay with some of those things. So it's just, or I pay for YouTube Premium, so I don't have to watch ads anymore.
Time to gather my thoughts.
Time to gather your thoughts.
I cannot hear you. You're frozen and quiet. Oh, now I see you. And hear you.
Must be a Discord thing.
It might be, yeah.
Because I was able to hear you and see you the whole time.
That's so weird.
Weird.
Don't blame Windows. You can probably blame Windows.
I'm blaming Windows.
Yeah. Well,
that's another whole thing. Like we'll have a separate discussion on that someday. The whole Windows versus Mac, because again,
personal preference.
I use it. It does come down a lot to personal preference. But again, I used to be a heavy Windows user, hated Mac, switched to Mac. So whole separate conversation for a different day. But I think we've kind of talked a lot about just some of the tying it back to the beginning, the green bubble, the blue bubble, iMessage versus Android, SMS, and I'm not trying to say Android only gets SMS. Like there's more options there, but it's more on the surface than just what kind of bubble and what kind of features do you get. Like there's so much more involved in these things. There's social stigmas, there's companies, there's history, there's security and privacy. Like there's so many of these things that are wrapped up in why would someone use an Android? Why would someone use iOS? And the majority of the public, like the majority of people don't even think about this. They're just like, what phone do you recommend? Well, I have an iPhone. I've had them forever and they're great. Okay, well, I'll get an iPhone.
Right.
That's why everybody has iPhones here. It'd be no different than if somebody had an Android and they're like, oh, it's great. It's cheaper than an iPhone. Great. I don't use an Android. Like that's honestly the way it is. And people, when they have too much time on their hands, like I used to,
argue
and sometimes
about
do,
it.
It's like you start fights and you argue and you get, Android's so much better. It's like, well, define better.
It's
at the end
subjective.
Of the day, at the end of the day, it makes phone calls, it sends messages, you can check your email, like that's it. I know somebody's gonna get on here about, oh, you can custom ROM and flash your Android and you can get
good for you
of different games. And it's like awesome. Some of us have lives,
You can get Five Nights at Freddy's for free on an Android.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Some of us have lives. Like I need something that works and it works. So
yeah. Right.
Yeah.
It's just personal preference at the end of the day. That's what I was going to say way early on, but that would have made this a lot shorter than it is.
Yeah. No, it does come down to personal preference a lot, but there's a lot of things that should feed into that based on what you know. And unfortunately, a lot of it is like people have a hard time making decisions on their own in a vacuum. A decision is usually the result of like, well, what's everybody else doing? What does somebody else do? And so that's really how it is.
That's a lot of that is just because for the majority of people, the differences don't matter. Because at the end of the day, everybody just needs a phone to communicate. And everybody's got their different purpose. And if everybody had the same phone, that would be super boring too. It's nice to have variety. But, well, I'm talking about like the big picture here. If everybody just had, if Android was wiped off the face of the earth and everybody just had an iPhone, it would be clean,
The world
But
would be perfect, right? No,
it
it wouldn't.
no, it would be so boring because everybody's a zombie robot at that point, and you got to have like different. I don't know. I think variety is the spice of life, so I like having different options. And even if I don't agree with other people's perspectives or other people's phone choice, it's nice to have some variety.
Looking like a true Android user.
I have an iPhone. Look, we're not all bad.
That's just that's the argument I hear. You know, it's so
Yeah.
boring. It's the same, and
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. It's like no different than a car. You know, what car
Yeah.
do you drive? Well, my needs are different. Okay,
I just
hate
like
you
being
because you
different.
drive a different car. Like that's stupid.
I've got some opinions about cars, but that's a whole other
Sure,
conversation.
everybody does.
I'm trying
but
to grow
everybody's
from
in a
that.
different place. Yeah, it
I
has
make so
different
many
needs.
judgments about what kind of car people drive. And it's
Yeah,
really
unless
bad.
like you're totally fine unless you drive a Ford, then you're fine.
Exactly.
I'm kidding.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm kidding. Yeah, and now I just sparked off a whole new debate, and people are
Or
going to
a Prius.
unsubscribe.
Yeah.
He doesn't like my
Ford Focus.
No, I think you could literally summarize this whole video by saying, first world problems.
Exactly.
Get over
Yeah.
it.
Be thankful
Like-
you have a phone.
You think we have a phone, but there are some. It is legitimate first world problems where you're dealing with credit card or banking information or social security information being hacked or stolen. Once you kind of dig into the why and the details of some of these things, so and that gets. I mean, that sparks a whole nother thought that iMessage is technically secure and encrypted. I think from the research I've done, Signal is actually better encrypted because of the fact that they don't collect as much information as your iPhone does through iMessage.
Right.
Like your Apple ID is tied to, your name, your phone number, your credit card information, all of these things that surround your Apple ecosystem. Apple has a lot of information on you. What they choose to do with that is different. That's another thing. Like that's the privacy versus security. The way a messaging app like Signal works is like they just have your phone number and whatever name you choose to give them. Like that's it. And so if you're literally just using the messaging app just to message, why would you want them to have anything else than just this phone number that you have? So that's all.
Interesting. I just had a thought. I have a quick question, then I'll get to that thought if I remember. So, like Facebook with encrypted apps like Signal, Facebook can't collect like conversation data from Signal just because it's that encrypted.
It's encrypted end to end, meaning that like instead of sending a decrypted message in an encrypted pipeline, where I'm trying to figure out how to like explain that. Like somebody could intercept a message, or if they hacked Signal's servers, like the messages aren't stored on a server. And so that's another thing. It's like they're only on one device. They're on your phone. So no, it can't read the conversations on your device. And I'm pretty, I don't understand all of this. I'm still learning and researching. So please comment below if you know the answer. And I might be completely wrong on this. From what I understand,
Check.
Facebook and apps like this cannot read IM data. So they can read SMS data. Like a text message is different than an IM message. An IM meaning Facebook Messenger, Telegram, WhatsApp, iMessage. Those are all internet messages, IP messages. It's not a text message that sends actually from your SIM card and your phone number. That's more of an archaic technology. And those are the messages that like the apps on your phone can read. And your IM messages are encrypted and only available within that space. Again, I could be completely wrong. That's the way I understand it. And so, right, like you say, I could be wrong. Like it could be that these things can be read by Facebook and that these messages can be just seen and imported from Facebook. And if that's the case, well, it's not an issue with the messaging app. That's an issue with the Facebook app. That's an issue with the internals of your phone. And so that was kind of a point that I was getting to earlier, where at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what kind of encryption service you use if your phone isn't secure. You you can lock all the windows in your house to keep the rain out, but if your front door is hanging wide open, then like, what's the point? Nobody's getting any data on me. I think it's hilarious when I see Android users so concerned about privacy and security and data, and they like have Facebook on their phone, and
They're
they
living
just
in a
use an
glass
Android,
house there.
and they use Google Maps to navigate anywhere, and it's like,
I don't even like Google Maps.
no, yeah. So, I mean, it's things like that where at the end of the day, like there's always some bit of data you're going to be giving up. If you don't want any of it, then you get rid of the phone. But there's benefit, there's trade-offs. So that's where it's like we can have choices to use certain apps and certain trade-offs that we provide. So that's all.
So in theory, if you had, say you use Signal, which is encrypted, but Facebook decides that, hey, I can read your IP address. I can get in there and read what you're talking about, see those weird selfies you're sending each other. And then if you get a VPN, for example, then that's all IP based. So that kind of defeats, it doesn't eliminate the threat, but it eliminates the risk to your specific, your like legitimate data. So then Facebook thinks, oh, this person's in Indonesia, so I'm going to give them Indonesian ads or whatever when you're actually in like Utah or whatever. And I think that's really cool. So moral of the story, just get a VPN and stop texting.
Sponsored by Surfshark. No.
NordVPN.
NordVPN.com/Carstati.
Sponsor me, please. I would love that.
No, yeah, I think really, the most secure way to do it, the most secure way you could have all of your contact info and really not contact info, you have all of your communication and really not skip a beat, is like use an iPhone, use Apple services when you can. So that's even like iCloud Plus, like they're it's probably not iCloud Plus, it's like Mail Plus, whatever. They just came out with like this advanced decryption for like your email and address forwarding. So when you sign up for an email, like you sign up for like a service, you're not giving them your real email, you're giving them a fake relay. So like using Apple Maps that doesn't track your information and log it the same way Google Maps does, or Waze.
I forgot about Waze.
Waze was actually bought by Google, unsurprisingly. Try not to have like any kind of Google apps or social apps anywhere on your phone, and just use like Signal to message and call people over Signal. Don't use SMS, don't use phone calls, and that's pretty much going to be your best bet.
There's my ping is 5,000 milliseconds at the moment. Oh, now it's 25. Okay, we're back.
New high score.
Yeah, sheesh. That explains why I can't stream.
You should get a medal.
A what?
A medal.
Medal?
Yeah, you got a new high score.
Oh, I thought you meant something different. Yeah.
All right, well, we can wrap this up. Anything else to add to that while we're on the topic of all of this?
NordVPN, please sponsor me, and also subscribe if you haven't already. To both of us.
Okay, yeah.
One of us needs it more than the other, but I'm not going to say who that is at the moment.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been good. Thanks for joining me so impromptu. We literally had nothing planned for this, actually. We were just like, hey, we should do a video. We were actually going to get on here and do a Reddit thing or a gaming stream, but we're like, let's do something else. So
let's do something that contributes to society a little bit.
So yeah, comment below, join the conversation. Definitely let us know your thoughts on any of the topics that we talked about. We'd love to engage back and forth. And let us know of any future topics. I mean, I really tend to keep tabs on the channel and kind of see where there's a lot of discussion or debate around certain issues, and I'd love to pick this back up and do it again. So it'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll probably be back too.
Yeah, I'll probably be back at some point too. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to comment below. Again, subscribe and like. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Anyways. That's what coffee does to you.